Good evening and warm welcome to Newswatch tonight. Hoping you had a great day today. You know it's Wednesday when Lessons from the Entrepreneur is lined up just for you here on Hope TV. Join us as we glean some insights from those who have taken this business journey. This coming up in this bulletin tonight. But before then, here are news stories that made headlines. My name is Melissa Oduor, and Boniface Muredi is on the sign language interpretation tonight. Newswatch begins now. The National Council of Churches of Kenya, NCCK, has called upon government ministries involved in different corruption scandals to step up and deal with the issues or step down from office. Speaking during a press briefing, NCCK Nairobi Regional Chairman Reverend Dr. Alphonse Kanga said the ongoing doctor strike, the fake fertilizer scandal, and the string of accidents, especially involving school buses, should be addressed with immediate effect. He has urged the government to ensure that such individuals caught up in corruption step down. The council has meanwhile recommended the removal from office of cabinet secretaries in the Ministry of Health and that of Agriculture. It further says the Ministry of Roads and Transport should be queried over the terrible accidents witnessed on the Kenyan roads recently. The NCCK is saying that this as a result of the high-level corruption in the traffic and public transport sector.
But if I was the Minister of Health, this time, either if one person died in some countries because of there's something wrong, either she fixes or steps out. Simple. By virtue that this happened on his face, he should be out or tell us mbolea ilitoka ilipeanwa with the systems that were supposed to be doing. They have the accountability. They have who are the storekeepers. They have the lorries that transport it. The Minister of Agriculture should not come and tell us ilikuwa ikatembea. The Minister of Agriculture would have come and told us this is what happens, and either so and so has been sacked or himself is stepped down. This thing is beyond opposition. Are they there? If they are there, what is their role? If they are there, what is their role? And if they are there, they should also come up and join with all Kenyans to come get a solution in this issue. This time it's not an issue of opposition or who is right or who is wrong. It's about our own who are dying in us. Accidents are on our roads because of corruption. The rate of accidents in Kenya can be measured with the rate of corruption in this country. Whether the police, the NTCA, and all the departments concerned, it's a high time. Again, we are saying the concerned people should come up with a team that all of us should be involved and deal with this mess of accidents. Because if there were corruption yesterday and it has not been handled as per today, there is a problem. So, is it wrong for them to be on the road? I don't know. But what I know is that we must have consultated effort with the police and NTCA and all the systems concerned, because there must be something wrong for those vehicles to do what they are doing.
The president should talk about the doctor strike, because it is not the people of my Kariba who are suffering. A bishop can afford to go to Aga Khan Hospital, but the grandmother who the Pale Mashinani cannot afford. So we want to see the president talk about it, solve this problem, let people live well in this nation. Opposition is still there, but maybe it has been bought, maybe it is quiet, maybe it doesn't want to talk about it. But with or without the opposition, the government should provide for its citizens.
Elsewhere, Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino has given a notice of motion to impeach Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nahumicha on grounds of gross violation of the Constitution and incompetence. While addressing a joint presser with the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union (KMPDU), the MP alleged that the Health Cabinet Secretary has failed to appreciate the seriousness of the doctors' strike, at the same time failing to avert the strike, which is in its third week now. Our reporter Kennedy Kimani with the details.
With the national doctor strike on its third week now and with no consensus in place yet, Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino has now given a notice of motion to the Clerk of the National Assembly to impeach Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakumicha, alleging that she has failed to avert the doctor strike, which is on its third week now. According to the MP, the doctor strike, which began on the 15th of March, has crippled Kenya's healthcare system.
We, and we means the KMPDU, doctors and members of parliament, when you push as the government, we will push. When you pull, we will resist. When you demand, we will refuse. And when you insist, we will turn you down. We want this defunct government to move with speed. The president should not leave the country when there's a serious crisis, when people are dying. The health ministry is unhealthy. The health ministry is sick. The country is sick. And therefore, as a result of that, we have come up with an impeachment motion. We are going back on Tuesday to Parliament. And this is the letter that we've sent to the Clerk of the National Assembly so far on an impeachment motion that we want to impeach the Cabinet Secretary for Health, Nakumicha, and we want her to continue staying at the funerals where she's enjoying staying instead of meeting the doctors and doing her job.
This comes hours after the government, in a statement, said that accrued basic salary arrears will be paid in full and the 2.4 billion shillings had already been disbursed to cover the interns' deployment and posting. KMPDU Chair Abidan Mwachi has, however, said that they will only return to work if the 2017 collective bargaining agreement is met.
Probably I'll start with the last one. None of our interns is speaking those letters. I know they originated from the office that they originated from. Our doctors remain fearless and bowed, knowing too well that Kenya is not a monarchy, Kenya is not a kingdom. We shall stand and speak to power. Those letters are actually a waste of taxpayers' money, and the money that was used to print those letters might as well have been used to augment the coffers that was to pay interns what they really deserve. As to whether the strike is on and off, all I can say is, pray tell. None of our doctors is going back to work until the government ends its end of the strike. We were never on strike in the first place. We were never, ever on strike in the first place. We were looking for the government. And you can see they are all helter-skelter. Yes, in funerals. So we are waiting for probably the next funeral in Western, and we might just be lucky.
KMPDU is demanding the full payment of salary arrears and the immediate hiring of trainee doctors, as well as adequate medical insurance coverage for themselves and their dependents.
Health is devolved. When you go to Machakos County, the hospitals are closed. When you go to Nairobi County, the hospitals are closed. If you go to Narok County, the hospitals are closed, or even if they are open, there are no doctors. These doctors are also saying that we are overworked. You've not employed any doctor since 5 years ago. The last doctors who are employed, if you count from the inception of the devolution, they are only less than 1,000. Yet the country is increasing. So these are the issues that these doctors are saying this government is not listening to.
So kuna maafa mingi sana na watu wanasikia vibaya sana na hawa wajumbe wote kwa hili jambo la strike, la maandamano, la madaktari, mgomo wa madaktari. Hili jambo ni jambo ambalo linahusisha wajumbe wote bungeni na wote wanasema ya kwamba lazima wapeleke Nakumicha nyumbani.
Our bare minimums, as you have told our leaders here, are as they have correctly understood. Do not touch the wallet of our interns. Pay us what you owe us. Employ doctors, even if they are not tenders, we know. So it is not attractive, but do the godly thing.
A section of members of parliament led by Embakasi East MP Babu Owino are now planning to join the doctors on the streets so as to pile pressure on the government to fulfill the doctors' demands. Kennedy Kimani, Hope TV Newswatch, Nairobi.
Now, the Orange Democratic Movement ODM party has announced plans to kick off its grassroots elections in 9 counties from the 27th of this month. The decision was announced by the party's Central Committee amid concerns about potential disunity within the party, given the ongoing succession discussions to replace party leader Raila Odinga. The party has, however, attributed the delay in conducting the grassroots elections to financial constraints, noting that this has made key activities such as planning and executing increasingly challenging. Grace Ahati reports.
Following a meeting by the ODM party's Central Committee held in Nairobi, the party has now unveiled its grassroots elections schedule set to kick off from April 27th for a 3-day period. Addressing the press on behalf of the party, ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna noted that the first phase will be done in 9 counties starting April 27th, with details on additional counties to be released soon.
The exercise will be staggered as follows. On the 27th, we shall have the exercise in 3 counties, namely Kwale, Busia, and Siaya. Then on the 29th, we shall have grassroots elections happening in Kajiado, Migori, and Wajir counties. And on 30th of April, we shall have the exercise in Kisii, Vihiga, and Murang'a counties. A further timetable covering the next batch of counties shall be released in due course.
Sifuna, however, highlighted that the delay in conducting the grassroots elections was primarily due to financial constraints, with the party accusing the government of intentionally withholding funds from political parties, leading to operational challenges.
A key issue canvassed at this meeting is the dire state the party finds itself in as a result of a government-instigated denial of funding. The Political Parties Fund was established to enhance democracy by promoting active participation by individuals in political life. Among other things, it is meant to cover election expenses of the political parties and broadcasting of the policies of the political parties. Unfortunately, this fund has become the death knell of parties it was meant to support. Since coming to office, the Kenya Kwanza regime has pursued a deliberate policy of denying funds to political parties, effectively crippling their operations.
The party has at the same time raised concern over the number of emerging national issues affecting citizens, among them the crisis in the health sector as manifested in the ongoing doctors' strike.
ODM.
The Raila Odinga-led team has declared support for the demands raised by the healthcare workers and has now urged the government to address these grievances promptly.
In line with the demands of the striking doctors, the government must ring-fence health finances by operationalizing the Facility Improvement Fund. We support the call by doctors for the government to allocate at least 15% of its budget to health and to devolve the resources to the counties. We equally support calls by doctors for annual and incremental recruitment of doctors and other healthcare workers until the country attains the recommended levels of staffing for various levels of facilities. That is what the government does with teachers, police, and military.
Reporting for Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Grace Ahati.
And the ODM party has strongly criticized the ruling United Democratic Alliance UDA party for appointing public officers into their party ranks. The UDA party yesterday, in naming members of its National Elections Board, had appointed the chairperson of the Kenya Revenue Authority, Anthony Mwaura, and the Kenya Power and Lighting Company chairperson, Joy Mudivo, to its Electoral Disputes Resolution Committee. And its criticism, ODM says the appointments could potentially lead to chaos and regress Kenya back to a one-party state era. ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna has now called for the resignation of the appointed public officers from the political positions, arguing that holding dual positions could compromise their impartiality and raise questions on conflict of interest.
There are also a number of emerging and running national issues affecting wananchi, among them the crisis in the health sector as manifested in the ongoing doctor strike, the crisis of funding in our schools and colleges, and the scam of subsidized fertilizer. The committee meeting therefore took stock of the state of the party and that of the entire nation. A key issue canvassed at this meeting is the dire state the party finds itself in as a result of a government-instigated denial of funding. The Political Parties Fund was established to enhance democracy by promoting active participation by individuals in political life. Among other things, it is meant to cover election expenses of the political parties and broadcasting of the policies of the political parties. We encourage our members to pursue their ambitions with a sense of responsibility to strengthen and not weaken our unity and solidarity, and to focus all our attention and energy on that big and main task of any political party, which is to take power. We therefore agreed not to allow election activities to be the source of divisions or cause cracks in ODM. The elements in the regime are having second thoughts regarding proposals they signed onto out of their own volition. They should come out clearly to say so instead of sponsoring these cases in court. On funding of education, we are of a view that the government is taking teachers, parents, and learners for a ride. To date, the government has not submitted capitation for Form 1s, even as they move to the second term. That means schools have had to find alternative ways to provide tuition, accommodation, and meals to thousands of Form 1s. Teachers and parents fear that the Term 1 money may never be submitted and could end up in some people's pockets. Teachers don't deserve this kind of strain. The government must therefore release all capitation money to all schools before they reopen for the second term.
Still on that political party matter trail, Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza has joined President William Ruto's UDA party in a move she says will consolidate her win in 2027 when she seeks to reclaim her seat in the county. The governor was warmly received by UDA party leaders led by Embu Governor Cecily Mbarire and the party Secretary General Cleopas Malala. Governor Mwangaza had been elected on an independent ticket during the 2022 general elections that propelled her to governorship. She has since survived 2 impeachment motions at the Senate.
Hii ni siku ya furaha kubwa sana sisi kama familia ya UDA. And even me as a person, I'm very happy. Kwa sababu today, UDA is stronger in Meru. Si ni kweli? Na vile our SG amesema, hii ni chama ambayo imefungulia kila mtu mlango. Ndio watu waingie kwa sababu any person coming in adds value to the party, makes the party stronger. Na kwa hivyo, my sister, I want to take this opportunity to formally welcome you into the UDA fold and into the UDA party. As the SG has said, this is a party where we make everybody comfortable. And this is the party where the women are even more comfortable. So, Mama Kawira, uko nyumbani, mahali utachungwa sawa sawa. And I want to take this opportunity, mimi kama chair wa UDA party, but pia kama neighbor wa Meru, kusema wakati of healing Meru County politically is now here. I'm urging all the politicians, especially the UDA members of parliament from Meru, the UDA MCAs of the Meru County Assembly from Meru, I want to urge them to open the doors for dialogue, for reconciliation, for healing of this great county called Meru. Hata sisi tukiwa neighbors, we are very worried for Meru. Kwa sababu wakati kuna vita, kazi haiwezi endelea vizuri. For the governor to perform, she needs the support of her MCA. Si ni ukweli?
On our short break now here on Newswatch. More news items coming up shortly, including tonight's episode of Lessons from the Entrepreneur. Don't go too far.
In order to keep hope alive in the airwaves, Hope Media has a couple of initiatives. Friends of Hope. Friends of Hope is you and I forming a team of well-wishers and volunteers who give in cash and kind to support in spreading the gospel at Hope Media. Currently, Hope Media is running a campaign under Friends of Hope dubbed 100 for 1. Through the campaign, Hope Media is asking Hope FM and Hope TV listeners and viewers to give just 100 shillings in order to reach one more soul with the message of hope and the gospel. Engage with us on our social media platforms at Hope FM Live and at Hope TV Kenya. Kuwa rafiki mso leo.
Thank you for choosing Hope TV, the channel that brings you hope, entertainment, and inspiration. We value you and would like to serve you better. Talk to us by scanning this QR code on your screen or go to our social media page at Hope TV Kenya and click on the survey link by the name Hope TV Survey. It will just take a few minutes but means the world to us. We value your feedback. Hope TV, look and live.
Welcome back. Now, President William Ruto has held bilateral talks with his Ghanaian counterpart Nana Akufo-Addo during his state visit to the West African nation. During the talks, the two leaders witnessed the signing of 7 MOUs, including some signed by business associations from Kenya and Ghana, aimed at facilitating trade and investment between the two nations. President Ruto also struck a deal and secured endorsement for opposition leader Raila Odinga's bid for the African Union Commission bid, and pledged Kenya's support for Ghana's return for the Secretary-General position at the Commonwealth. Ruto called for the consolidation of the AU reforms needed to enhance the prosperity of the African continent.
Still on the subject of integration, and especially in accelerating the free movement of people within our continent, I welcome your recent announcement of your commitment to remove entry visa requirement for all Africans by December this year. This commitment aligns with one of the goals of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area to create a single market in the continent to drive economic growth, grow and create more jobs, and eradicate poverty. I have informed President Akufo-Addo that in similar vein, Kenya recently removed visa requirements for visitors from all countries with effect from January 1st this year. This underscores Kenya's commitment to complement Ghana in improving free movement, increasing trade, and building a stronger, more united continent. The free movement of people between our two countries has contributed immensely to trade, investment, and tourism.
The Judicial Service Commission JSC today kicked off interviews for 20 High Court judges. According to the Commission, up to 305 applicants had expressed interest in the positions, but only 100 were shortlisted. 6 of the candidates appeared before the Commission chaired by Chief Justice Martha Koome as the month-long interview process began. Those interviewed today included Adelaide Amimo, Agnes Joroge, Alex Ithuku, Alexander Muteti, Alfred Gedhi, and Alice Chepngetich Soi. The High Court of Kenya currently has 78 judges serving in 45 stations across the country. According to the JSC, the recruitment of the 20 additional judges of the High Court is aimed at enhancing access to justice and boosting clearance of case backlog. The Ministry of Education says each senior school should be capable of offering 2 career pathways for grade 10 to 12 learners. According to Education Ministry Principal Secretary Dr. Belio Kipsang, having senior schools offer 2 career pathways will make economic sense of what has already been invested in the institutions, with some national schools expected to offer up to 3 career pathways. Dr. Kipsang was speaking during the launch of a stakeholders meeting on senior and teacher education held at the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development in Nairobi. Elias Panjiru attended the meeting and filed this report.
Our brothers and sisters from the 4th estate.
The Ministry of Education, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development (KICD), has held a stakeholders engagement where different stakeholders in education have discussed, among other issues, the senior school curriculum and the kind of teacher education for those who will steer the senior school system under the specials of ongoing education reforms.
That whatever it is we offer our learners as a learning area, we should provide for opportunities for learners to actually experience that which they learn. So the main point here, colleagues, is that unlike some people have said on television and elsewhere, CBC is anchored in a philosophy, that's the philosophy of pragmatism. It has tenets that we may not talk about, but as we go to senior school, we must think about them critically. And of course, maybe I should go there briefly. Our peers has talked about an age-based curriculum. The greatest theory you can think about here is Jean Piaget's cognitive developmental theory. It gives us a lot of information on what learners at various ages are able to conceptualize, able to do, able to think.
Basic Education Principal Secretary Belio Kipsang said the Minister of Education hopes to have each senior school offering 2 career pathways for grade 10 to grade 12 learners. The 3 pathways are science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM, social sciences commonly known as humanities, and the final one is performing arts, music, and athletes.
Very much.
Last month, Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu revealed that they had prepared a session paper to be discussed in Parliament of the number of career paths a school will offer.
Because the Constitution expects 12 years of basic education learning, and which should be continuous and not disrupted by either assessment or examination. So, as we reflect on grade 9 and the type of assessment that we are going to do in grade 9 is not for placement, but for guiding our kids to pathways that they would want to take. So these are some of the things which we should be reflecting in this engagement. So once again, the stakeholders here in present today are critical in informing policy trajectory in line with the government agenda and the international expectation of us as government as we produce these persons to the clock.
PS Kipsang has also called on stakeholders to support the ministry in mapping schools into the different career pathways. He stressed the importance of proper direction on how senior school will be conducted as the ministry prepares to accommodate the first cohort of learners in 2026. Kipsang has meanwhile urged the stakeholders to consider the depth of learning for 3 years that will be in senior high school and pledge a full day from the government in accomplishing the subject load for each set career path.
This government is committed to providing quality, free, and compulsory basic education as we gave ourselves when we were designing our constitution in 2010, because Article 51(1)(b) expects of us to give free and compulsory basic education. Not only is it free and compulsory, but it must meet the expectation of the Kenyan people in terms of quality. And because we don't train for ourselves, that education is one of the global goods that we produce for everybody, then it must meet the global expectation. And therefore, we prepare our children for the global village that we are in today.
Very much.
According to Education PS Dr. Belio Kipsang, the CBC is set to see training of teachers emphasized to make sure that the learners, especially in the senior school, get the expertise skills so that they can be competitive in the market locally and internationally. Reporting for TV Newswatch from KICD Nairobi, my name is Nelias Wanjiru.
To some regional news now, Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa has declared a state of national disaster over a climate change-induced drought that has curbed farm output in the Southern African nation. The announcement follows similar declarations last month in neighboring Zambia and Malawi, where poor rainfall has cut production of the staple corn and other grains and contributed to higher food prices that have hurt poor households. The El Niño weather phenomenon resulted in swathes of Southern Africa experiencing its driest February in decades this year.
By this declaration, I also call upon all Zimbabweans of goodwill, including those in the diaspora, the international community, United Nations agencies, development and humanitarian partners, international financial institutions, the private sector, churches and other faith-based organizations, as well as individuals, to generously donate towards ameliorating this state of national disaster. By this
To some business news now, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, KAM, has unveiled its 2024 Manufacturing Priority Agenda, MPA, and the Agriculture for Industry A41 report. The MPA is an annual publication that guides KAM's advocacy efforts with government and its agencies. According to KAM, this year's MPA themed Steering Economic Growth Through the Manufacturing Sector for Common Good builds on the organization's efforts to achieve Agenda 20 by 30. It sets forth a comprehensive roadmap aimed at enhancing the competitiveness and growth of Kenya's manufacturing sector while revolutionizing the agricultural landscape to foster sustainable economic development. Speaking during the launch, KM Head of Policy, Research and Advocacy, Job Wanjohi, emphasized the significance of advancing policies to reset manufacturing and achieve Agenda 20 by 30, aiming to elevate the sector's GDP contribution by 20% and potentially creating 1 million direct jobs. To our weekly episode of Lessons from the Entrepreneur now, Gladys Munyori has clinched several awards as a sales representative. As an employee, Gladys says she has since grown to package herself as a personal brand to enable her grow her business tentacles. Gladys is our guest on tonight's episode of Lessons from the Entrepreneur. Welcome to Lessons from the Entrepreneur. My name is Melissa Oduor. On this episode, we are so delighted to have Gladys Munyori, an award winner, a sales expert, actually, and she's going to talk about the entrepreneurship journey and how to take it a notch higher into now personal branding. Welcome to this segment of the business news. So tell us a bit about yourself as a way of introduction. And I can see your awards. You're going to take us through the awards that you have won. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited for you. Yes.
Thank you very much, Melissa, for inviting me here. I greatly appreciate.
Yes.
And it's a big opportunity for me to do what I love, transforming people's lives.
Awesome.
Yeah, my name, as you said, is Gladys Munyori. I'm a senior sales consultant at Toyota, currently known as Sifau Motors Limited. Yeah, but as you've said here, I want to talk more on the personal branding. And I am a mother of two and a wife. And I'm very glad to be an icon in the automotive industry, which is male dominated.
Yes.
But at least we are opening doors for ladies, showing them that yes, they too, they can.
You're holding awards. Tell us a bit about them. I can see 2024. So this is as late as actually February.
Yes. This is as late as this first quarter. Yeah, this award you can see I was a finalist in the African Regional Sales Skills Contest, which was held in Johannesburg. So that's one certificate that was showing that I was a finalist. But I think I can just take you through the others. So as we're able to see which categories I won. So the second award is on Best in Selling Skill. So selling is not easy. It's not for the faint-hearted.
It's a skill.
Yes. Wow. And winning a category in that in Africa, this is Africa, it's also a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And this tells you that the selling skill is not just for a certain product. When you have a selling skill, it cuts across every product.
So the same way you sell a car,
yes,
you can sell water.
Exactly.
You can sell juice.
Yes. You can sell houses. I can sell you. Yeah, so I'm best in selling skill.
Okay. Wow.
And then I also got another category called closing process. So I got best in closing process.
That means what? Closing a sales?
Yes. Because that also requires a skill. There are people who are good at marketing, they are good at pitching, but they lose the ball when they come to closing.
Wow.
So I'm also an expert
So
in
you know
closing.
how to generate interest, but now the closing the deal where now you're signing contracts, a lot of people don't seem to know.
Don't seem to know it, because in selling you have to connect with the customer's emotional need, and then you also have to know about their timelines and deadlines. And if you don't vocalize this and ask, by when do you require these cars? By when do you require this water in your house? Then you won't close that deal.
You know, Gladys, some people think when it comes to closing sales, it's about how you speak, you know, rapport, like language.
Yeah.
Is it about that?
That contributes to the selling skill, but not to the closing skill. There is a difference.
Wow.
Because in selling, you need that sweet language, but in closing, you need to understand, what does the customer want? Have you hit the hot motives for the customer? If you've not hit the hot motives, you cannot close. You have to know what are their hot motives. What is it in this car? They have to have it for them to buy that car.
Yeah.
So if you just sell the car generally, you'll keep on losing. But if I know that this person requires this car to carry manure from one particular point to another, I won't be selling to them the Prado. I'll know the exact car to sell to them. It's a pickup.
Okay.
So that's about closing.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Then this was the big one.
Oh, wow.
This is now overall. When you combine all those categories in the vehicle skills in Africa, which was also held in Johannesburg, I won the silver award. Normally there are 3 awards: the gold award for the position 1, silver award position 2, and bronze award for position 3. So I'm glad I got the 2nd position in Africa. Yeah, and being a lady, that was a big achievement in the automotive industry. Yeah, so for this to happen, the competition first took place in Kenya. So we have the other awards here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
tell us a bit about your passion into this male-dominated field. You know, when you talk about cars, a lot of people just see, of course, men, yeah?
Yes.
So you find a lady here and then you're wondering, so what is it that inspired you, of all the areas to practice your sales, you decided to go into the automotive industry?
Okay, I will say joining the automotive industry was more of a coincidence. What I'm passionate about for a long time has been sales, and I didn't get to sales as a choice. As most graduates, you try looking for work here, then eventually the only open position is sales. But I took it very, very positively, and I've been loving what I've been doing even in other industry. I've been in the it's called what? The construction industry.
Oh, you've done construction?
Yeah, I've sewed steel. Okay, I have been a hawker.
Whoa!
So my journey in sales goes long way behind, and I really appreciate it. So how I came to the automotive industry, I think that's where you want to know, because that's where now I'm shining, and that's where a lot of people know me from. It happened in 2019. No, 2018. Yeah, I remember I was just in a taxi moving from one sales point to another, because I've always been in sales, so I do a lot of field work. And then I got this call that, Gladys, we found your number on LinkedIn, and we are looking for somebody who can work in an automotive industry and also speaks Chinese language. Yeah, because
you could speak Chinese at that point.
Yeah, I could speak Chinese. I still do speak Chinese language. So I'm known as a sales consultant, Chinese speaking. That's what even my business card reads. So I said, okay, what about the packages? He said, no, we won't discuss that. Then I said, why not? Okay, I can just go for the interview and see. But prior to that call, I had been in a kind of stressful business environment where I was working, but I couldn't quit because of the bills. So I had been having discussions within myself. How can I survive without having to work for bills? So I think my journey, I would say, started that like 7 years ago. And to now fast forward, I went for the interviews. I had many interviews, Chinese themselves, who were also coming for that role. But because of personal branding, my interview, I believe that's why I succeeded. So that's why I want to speak a little bit about the personal branding.
When we talk about personal branding, a lot of us come into that entrepreneurial space.
Yeah.
To first, as side hustles, you know, something to complement, to supplement your income, not really thinking, big about it. And then others will probably quit their jobs to venture into it. But so you're saying you're employed, but you're a brand.
Yes.
So tell us a bit about that.
Yes. That's what I'm passionate right now about, personal branding, because a lot of people like to associate themselves with where they work. Maybe you say, Melissa, I work at Hope TV, or I work at Hope Media. I'm Gladys, I work at Toyota. But I don't want to associate myself with where I work. I want to be known as Gladys Munyori as a brand. And that's what I would like to encourage people. Because if your brand is strong, your work is assured, your employment is assured. It doesn't have to be in the company you're working in, but you'll fetch such high value that people will be the one who'll be looking for you. So what is personal branding? So personal branding goes hand in hand with self-development. So one has to learn much about self-development, and you get to a level where you are confident about what you're offering as a person. And that's when we say that, your brand is becoming strong. But your brand becoming strong is one thing. Then there's visibility. So on visibility, what I did is I started a YouTube channel, also called Gladys Munyori. And as recently as the last year, November, I started a TikTok channel. I realized people moved from YouTube, they're now all in TikTok. So what personal branding does for you is that it makes sure you are relevant in the industry. Like mine now is the sales industry. It doesn't have to be automotive, but sales industry, I'm relevant there. Meaning I can also work here in Hope in sales. I can work in the water industry to sell water. Anything that requires the selling skill, I can do. So
the point where somebody wants to start to brand themselves, what would be some of your key takes for this? How do I start to brand myself?
I think it starts first by the personal development. Why I really insist on that is because for personal branding, self-confidence is key. Because you don't want to start something and you're feeling like, am I an impersonator? I'm not really sure of what I'm doing. But when you develop yourself first internally and like yourself, you'll be confident of what you're putting out there. So if I put Gladys Munyori, sales consultant, I'm just sure that I believe in my brand before other people believe in that brand. So it starts with personal development. So where do you get this personal development from? Right now, the internet has come to help us. So you can listen to podcasts. There are so many gurus out there who speak about this. Maybe I can just mention some few for people to know where to start from. Listen to somebody called Brian Tracy. Listen to somebody called John Maxwell. Listen to somebody called Jim Rohn. You can start with those. And our very own Dr. K.N. Jacob. He has been my mentor for a very long time. And I think I started his journey by attending his classes here in Kenya. He moved to the US, but you can still access him through YouTube. So once you have done personal development, now you reach a point of where your brand now is strong. Now look for ways to put it out there. And that can be through the social media. Because the social media is the way to go nowadays.
So when you talk about, for you, your space was LinkedIn, where this person actually found you. Tell us a bit about that journey of transitioning now, from the normal, ordinary interactions to now going to social media. What for you worked as you transitioned into that? What worked for you?
What worked for me first is I believe so much in LinkedIn, because that's the professional setup where people get to display. And it starts as simple as just getting a good photo. Yeah, because I find, like a lot of people ask me, where do you start? I go to their LinkedIn. You see the photo they've put me, they're just taking tea or something. It doesn't sound so well. Somebody is looking for you. And then what content have you put there? If you go to my LinkedIn, you'll find that my CV is what is on my LinkedIn. So in an instance, an employer will be able to check and see, oh, this is Gladys Munyori, this is where she has been, this is what she has achieved, this is what she has done. And so they'll know, is she the right candidate I'm looking for? But if you're nowhere to be seen, nobody knows you on LinkedIn, or your LinkedIn looks like your Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the social, this is the professional setup, but
Yes.
you make it look like a very social network.
Yeah, that won't work. So it has to look professional. And also, what do you comment on? I encourage people, if you want to follow a certain industry, maybe automotive and you're not there, follow the automotive industry pages. Know what they are doing, be up to date with them. And then they always post their vacancies and opportunities there.
So you'll always find something to do.
You'll always find something. And when the right time comes, you do the application.
So those of us who are in the sales area, what are some of the tips that you can give them in making sure that, they remain relevant? For example, saying closing a deal. Tell us a bit about those 2 tips of, how people in the sales space can also package themselves better as, as a personal brand.
Okay, I think this is very, very important because you'll find there in sales, there are usually 2 types of salespeople. In a group of like 100, you'll find that maybe 20 are shining, then the 80 are they just do sales, normal sales, they go home. Do normal sales, they go home. So to be on the top 20 as a salesperson, you have to be willing to go the extra mile. And this involves opening your line even after work hours. So for you to be a successful salesperson, you cannot work 8 to 5. You have to be open to answer your customers after the working hours. So what do you do between, for example, 5 to 8? Like my line is open 5 to 8. If a customer has a question, I will answer their question those hours. Because to close faster, you have to give feedback faster. A lot of people, they lose the ball because of not giving feedback in time.
You have to respond 2 days later.
Yes, or even 24 hours later is still late because that person is comparing. Is comparing this brand. So if you don't respond, sometimes they'll go with maybe a lesser brand because of lack of information from your end. But if you close faster, you respond faster, it always works. And then going the extra miles involves improving yourself as a salesperson. So as a salesperson, what are you doing extra? Now, you've closed maybe your business at 8. So from 8 p.m. maybe to 10 p.m., what are you doing? Are you reading?
Oh, wow.
Are you reading? Or you're just watching Netflix movies? Yes. So self-improvement is key, and it has to be done daily and consistently. You don't get to a level you say, I'm a master, then you keep. You say, no, this is enough. Yeah.
Off camera, you're talking about passive income and how when entrepreneurs want to transition from this rat race of paying bills and working for bills, they can be able to navigate that terrain. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, I'm also very, very passionate about that, and I hope that in future now I'll be able to do it more. I call myself a passive investor. We've known a lot of different kinds of entrepreneurs, but I'm a passive entrepreneur. What do I mean by this? Is that you decide you're going to get a certain source of income that is not dependent on your 8 to 5 and not the side hustle. Because there's a difference. Because a lot of guidance or advice people get is that get a side hustle. But sometimes what this side hustle does to us salespeople, they make you less focused on what you're selling. So you're not good in what you're selling, you're also not good in your side hustle. So maybe your side hustle gives you like 30,000 in a month or 10,000 and still can't pay the bills. Yet this other side you're failing, you're not delivering, you're not. So there's another kind of investment which can work for a salesperson, and that is passive investment. So what do I mean by this? Is investing in like private bonds. Maybe next time when you have more time, I'll elaborate. Private bonds, government bonds, money market funds, and anything that can give you dividends or extra income, including saving in circles as share capital or savings. So how can one start this, or how did I start this? When I was starting, and as I said, I was fearing to quit my job because of how will I pay my bills? Because if I quit my jobs and just try with the 500,000 shillings, I have to start a business. What if it fails? So I realized I can hold on to that job a little bit, look for a better one. But luckily for me, as I've said, somebody reached to me on LinkedIn and I got a better opportunity. So anything I got extra, I started investing in bonds. So I started with the private bonds. So what the private bonds they do, you put a certain amount of money, then you're paid a certain percentage annually, but you can tell them to pay you either quarterly, in semi-annually or annually.
Yeah.
So that income that comes, you can divide it for your bills. For example, somebody who is just starting up, maybe if you get your dividends are like 30,000, you can decide 30,000 is enough to pay for the electricity for the whole year. You can prepay the electricity or water bills. Then you improve it, because there are two ways you can do this: by downsizing your life. If you're living in a house you're paying 40,000, you can move to one in 20,000. This 20,000 extra, be committed to it. Put it in a money market fund. Money market fund compounds monthly. So you put 20,000, 20,000 every month. By the end of the year, since it's compounding, you'll have around 600K. Move the 600K now from the money market fund, put it in a bond. Why you put it in a bond, you cannot touch money in a bond. Like government bonds, they give you a period where you're going to, maybe 6 years, sometimes 10, 17. So for you not to think about this money like money which you can easily get, what I do, I think of them like I'm building houses. If I had bought or built a house, maybe here in, let me talk about somewhere like at the river. If I had built a house in at the river, I won't be thinking of 6 months to just go sell it and get the money. So I think the same way of the bonds. So whatever the bonds will give you, that one is your rent. The way you'd collect rent from a tenant from a house you've bought, that's the same way with a bond. But what the beauty about the bond or in the money market dividends is that you don't have a worry of lacking a tenant.
Yes.
You don't have worry of the security of your tenants calling you, or garbage has not been collected.
Yes.
You know, maintaining the house after the person has left. So you're a passive investor and you have peace of mind. So when you have peace of mind, because now your bills have been catered for, and this is not a 1 year thing, you have to give yourself like 7 to 10 years to accomplish this. A lot of people don't have patience, but I tell you, with patience, this works. So once that is set in place, you can now develop your brand. You can ask yourself, what am I passionate about? If it means applying in such organizations, you can apply. If it means now setting up somewhere a consultancy firm, you can easily do that. Yeah, so
this conversation can go on and on. I wanted to tell us a bit about this award, the one on the table.
Yeah.
The ones are looking more magnificent as we wrap up this conversation. Champion of the 6th. Oh my goodness, you girl.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm very passionate about this award. It's because when I joined the automotive industry, Toyota, 6 years ago, I found that there's usually this competition where salespeople will compete, and then the first winner will be chosen to go compete with other winners in Africa. So I remember mentioning to my desk mate then that I will attend this competition. Then he say, no, not you, Gladys. This leave it to the gurus.
You've been there longer.
Yeah. So I didn't give up.
Yeah.
I just continue sharpening my skills, learning about the products, learning more about sales. And why I'm passionate about this, it was my first attempt here in Kenya, and I became number 1. Yeah. And it was also my first attempt in South Africa, and I became number 2. A lot of people have to go like 3 or 4 times before getting this.
Third place.
Yeah, so this came all the way from Toyota Motor Corporation, Japan. You can see here, Toyota Motor Corporation. So I'm very, very much passionate about this one. And I'm also very passionate about the Toyota brand. But I think it comes from the fact that I'm passionate about sales. Yes.
But thank you so much for keeping us company. My name is Melissa Oduor for today's lesson, or lessons from the entrepreneur. Until next time, here are images from Gladys Munyori's award. To sports now, the church has been lauded for providing opportunities for the young people through sporting events and urged to do even more in pushing for discipline among sportsmen. Speaking in Nandi County, Governor Stephen Sang singled out Sitam Church Kapsabet, which collaborated with other organizations to hold the first edition of the Kapsabet Half Marathon last Sunday, an event that sought to appreciate athletes for putting Kenya in the map of the world. The Nandi County governor has, however, raised concerns over the issue of doping among athletes in the country and called on the church to help address the menace by reaching out to the athletes and ministering to them.
Last year, our country was facing the real threat of being banned in terms of international competitions. And I can tell you, if you came to this field on an ordinary morning, you will find over 300 to 500 athletes, young men and women training, and their eyes are focused on global events. And if Kenya was ever going to be banned on account of doping challenge, you cannot imagine the kind of frustration and the kind of frustration that our young men and women will face. And therefore, we are all committed to the fight against doping in our country. However, Bishop, the doping challenge is a moral question. It cannot be sorted out by laws. You will put the laws in a place. They actually exist as we speak. You will create institutions. The ADAC institution exists today. But the bigger problem about the doping menace in Kenya and globally is that it is a moral question. And that can only be addressed by dealing with the morality. There can never be a better partner than the church in helping us address that particular challenge. If we can reach out to these young men and women, encourage them to tell them that the talent, the athletic talent that they have is God-given. What they only need to do is work smart and build on it. We shouldn't be able to talk about doping in Kenya. And therefore, I am very excited that we have a partner in you that is reaching out to all of us. I am looking forward, Bishop, to an opportunity for Sitam. You know, on an ordinary morning, I know you have morning services. Why don't you find a time to even come to this very field? In the morning, you will be shocked by the number of young men and women you will find training here. Have an opportunity to minister to them. Have an opportunity to share with them. Let us ensure that these young men and women are part of a Christian family. And I know, Sitam, you can provide that. You have already identified with them. You are the first church to reach out to them. You are the first church that is sponsoring such an event. I am very sure that you have the capacity to reach out to them.
And Tottenham Hotspur missed the chance to move into the Premier League top four with a draw at a rain-soaked London stadium. Brennan Johnson's tap-in put them ahead after 5 minutes, but the Hammers levelled when Kurt Zuma headed home from a corner. Both sides showed endeavour but lacked a cutting edge as the spoils were shared. That's how we end Newswatch tonight. Thank you for your company throughout this newscast. I have been your anchor, Melissa Oduor, together with Boniface Morethi on the sign language. On behalf of the production crew here, have a restful night.